Coogs house. Well, it's official. We can unofficially say, love you, Coogs.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, a podcast all about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or a hater who came to stop by, or just a lover of good uniforms, thank you for listening to Locked On Cougs bonus episode today, talking about the new blue uniforms. Yes, you heard that right. Houston's officially incorporating blue into the show, or into their show, I should say, as an alternate color. The rollout was awesome. Happened Friday, November 1st, as we're getting things rolling into winter sports, kind of at the end of the fall sports season. All kinds of great stuff here. I want to talk some about what exactly is going on, what these blue uniforms are, football, when they're going to wear them, because that's obviously a big rollout as well, other sports, and everything having to do with all of it. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This is a bonus episode. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit last minute, a little bit haphazard. Frankly, didn't know I'd be recording this afternoon. It's been a wild week with different information flying from all different kinds of ways, but all different kinds of things, recruiting stuff, scheduling stuff. I had a whole thing listed about the front court that ended up getting dumped into the trash because one of those guys got hurt. And so we got all kinds of stuff going on here, but I'm happy that we get to talk a little bit about this today, as Houston's rolling out their blue uniforms. Now, it's officially official that Houston is going to incorporate blue as a tertiary or alternate color themed uniforms, set of uniforms for each and every sport at the University of Houston. I want to say each and every sport. It is not just a football thing, not just a Houston Oilers thing. They're rolling out what is called Houston Blue. Now, you'll remember a year ago, roughly, at the start of the football season, a little over a year ago, I should say, this started with Houston surprising a lot of people by coming out in the Houston Oilers-themed uniforms. Shortly thereafter, almost exactly a year ago today, it's just over a year ago today, I believe, the Tennessee Titans, who own that trademark, came out with their own statement saying that they were going to press charges against the University of Houston if they continue to wear and market and merchandise, make money on merchandising for that series of things. And obviously that put a pause on any potential plans to market things. We heard from Chris Pessman before he was let go of his responsibilities, talk about how they knew it was going to be big, but didn't know how big, as far as the uproar and people asking for things. They didn't realize there was going to be this gigantic push to buy blue merch. And there was the big complaint of the blue merch, aside from the fact that people kind of wish that they would just tell the Tennessee Titans to buzz off, was that it wasn't available for purchase, especially with the lawsuit potentially happening. A bunch of that blue stuff never got sold. It was kind of, if you could find any bootleg offshoot, people making it in their basement, people shipping it from a foreign country, whatever you could get, that's what you got, right? And then we knew as of last May, Pesman said that they had enough stuff in their side of the court case that if they went to court, they felt confident in their chances. They were still navigating what it would look like to kind of, you don't want to go into a lawsuit even if you think you're going to win, necessarily if you don't have to. And so what would that look like ultimately? Obviously, he's let go of his duties in early June. Then you jump forward to Eddie Nunez. He's getting acquainted. He asks fans, what do you like to see? What do you want? What can we change? Overwhelmingly, the two things it sounds like after he reported to the Chronicle this morning were that people wanted merch and people wanted the blue back. And both of those things are coming together in this. I think it's really interesting that Eddie Nunez is outlining this as the athletic director, saying that this is the start of a whole different world of merchandise sales for the University of Houston, right? I think it sounds like you're going to have a lot more. They're pushing to have a lot more access to a lot more different things at your various academies, Dick's Sporting Goods, school bookstore, through the school site on Amazon, et cetera. All of those are going to have more options and more plentiful options moving forward. So this is really the first step, the first exciting step in a bigger merchandising rollout. Now, I do also know that a big part of this is that it's Houston blue. And myself, I'll tie that to the Oilers and my own memory banks, et cetera. But it's also called Houston blue because that's the whole point. Is it's bringing the university to the city of Houston. And I want to talk about something that at the end of the show. Today was a little bit shorter, abbreviated bonus show of sorts. But this is, I want to stress, Houston blue, not Oiler blue, not Love You Coug blue, nothing like that. The official marketing campaign is that it's going to be Houston blue. And it's interesting for a university that prides itself on red and white, fight, so on, right? That the idea that like red and white go together, and there's so many, you can see it when Houston wears a blackout for football this weekend, that there's so many traditionalists that want to stick to red and white, want to stick to red and white, want to stick to red and white. This alternate is the kind of thing that's like going to be used against like in-state rivals once a season, nothing crazy, right? This is just an alternate kind of thing. The same way that like sometimes an NFL team will wear a different helmet once a year, or something like that. I don't think anything is indicating this is going to go full bore Oregon where we wear a different uniform every weekend with no tradition. I don't think that anyone is arguing this is going to go to like the NBA where it feels like people wear the alternates more than the originals and no one wears white at home anymore. None of that is what this is, right? Now, I will say that I like it. Personally, I like the blue a lot. That's a more personal thing. So if that leaks into my opinions and takes here, upfront about that. I think the blue looks good. I think it makes the red, if I'm being honest, pop more, right? Like it makes the red stick out more than just having all red with white numbers or vice versa. I think it's like the little person over there in the corner or in all the advertisements wearing like red gloves pops out more with the blue uniform and vice versa, right? I'm also interested to see what other uniforms look like. But we do know that every sport is going to have an option. And they rolled out in the initial rollout the football and volleyball uniforms. For example, we have the football and volleyball uniforms here from the Houston Athletics X page. The football uniform we'll talk about more in a second, but the volleyball, you can see the libero is wearing the light blue full uniform, whereas the more traditional uniform is white with blue numbers and red trim. Football uniform looks similar to last year, though not exactly the same, in one of those efforts to try and duck the potential threat of a lawsuit, obviously. And for what it's worth, the differences here are fairly slim, right? They got rid of the sleeve stripe and incorporated the number in a way that feels more like the usual uniform. They opted to have a singular red stripe down the middle of the helmet as opposed to the multi-layered stripe that was similar to the Houston Oilers uniform. They went for a more, it's still a Houston, City of Houston look, but it isn't necessarily as directly tied to, not the mimic copy of the Houston Oilers. I will stress in a later segment why that's not that big a deal, but I want to talk about all of that after talking about football team wearing it very soon and more in a moment. But first, there's been a lot of content this week, a lot of content every week. And I am a teacher, I am a coach, I do a lot of things. I'm doing this from my day job. I need extra energy. I need a little help every now and then with that extra energy. And my buddies over at 5 Hour Energy are the people to help me do that. Whether it's if I need to help coach through a big game, if I've got a bunch of scouting reports to write, I've got to record a couple extra podcasts, if I've got to get here and grade some extra papers, whatever I'm going to do throughout the day, 5 Hour Energy knows how to help and help me stay up late and watch Houston Cougar basketball on Monday night or whatever I'm trying to do on a weeknight as well. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. And whether you're preparing for a big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is a mile or more long. That's why the limited edition Stand Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here is to help you stay fueled throughout the entire season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available at 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Parker Rancher Locked on Coogs are on all things Houston blue. And as we look at this, I want to talk about how football is going to be wearing this on the 23rd against Baylor and how that was kind of the first part of this league and what Houston blue means. All right, so Houston pushed out their agenda, right? They're going to wear black this weekend against Kansas State, whites on the road with various accoutrements and accents, and then they had a blue at home on November 23rd against Baylor. They opened that up, though, to ask the crowd in a way that they kind of knew how things were going to go. I think that's really important in looking at this. They opened this up to crowdsourcing what blue was going. But this is him, Eddie Nunez, listening to the fans, because in that Twitter vote of sorts, the overwhelming, every reply was blue, 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 right? And if you remember when we first hired Eddie and we started talking to people in New Mexico, what they knew about Eddie, he is responsive. He is reactive. He will listen to the fans, the alumni, anyone associated with the university. And this is an example of that, obviously. Now, Houston's wearing their blue football uniform on the 23rd. Every sport's going to get their own one-off or whatever kind of uniform, to where at some point we'll see a basketball one roll out at some point. And we could see kind of Twitter tea leaves on that as early as the summer with Kellen Sampson. But like Alan Bishop just confirmed it on Friday afternoon or Friday earlier in the day. Now, I want to stress, and this is the part where I get on my soapbox, that's why I saved it for the end here. People are traditionalists and only want to see Houston wear red and white, and don't even really want to see white helmets all the time, right? Like, this is a fan base that likes their tradition, and part of that is beautiful, and part of it also needs to be a little more flexible, right? They think of this blue as being tied to the Oilers because that's what they wore, but blue is a Houston color. It is, and it always has been a Houston color. It's a Houston thing. If the Oilers' colors were about being oil, they'd be black, they'd be white, they'd be brown, right? They'd be the dirt, etc., the steel, right? Instead, they opted to use blue with a hint of red and white, like the Houston flag, right? This is a Houston thing. There was the Houston cop cars, the Houston road signs, the Houston artwork, the ties to the water, all these different things. The blue is Houston, and it's a city. Is a beautiful city, and as a university, they're trying to tie it to that beautiful city, right? Now, they're doing a number of different things to do that. The For the City campaign, all those things are great, fantastic. The blue uniforms is another way to get more merch around town, and expanding merch sales, as Eddie Nunez has said he wants to do, are both ways to do that. If you don't want to wear blue, don't. But if you want to expand this school to make it the cool school to represent across the fourth largest city in the country and one of the largest sprawling areas in one of the fastest growing states in the country, blue's the way to do that, and expanding merch sales way to do that, expanding all these different avenues to gain that branding are the way to do that. Again, you want people to associate this university with this city because people think so highly of this city across the country. It's a beautifully diverse. It's beautifully, architecture is incredibly unique. It's got all kinds of different cultures tied into it, and the food scene and all the sports and all the music, all of it. You want the university to be tied to all of that. Adding a single uniform that you're going to wear once a year to help you do that is a home run and an easy win. And Eddie saw that, Eddie seized on that, and I love that he spoke about this as a branding opportunity, right, as much as anything. Obviously, yes, I'm a fan of the color. I like the way it ties in. But I also, as a history teacher, again, teacher and coach, history teacher by day, I think that this is a great way to represent the city as a whole. And I am excited about it. I can't wait to see what the other uniforms look like. I ordered my merch at like 4:50 this morning when I woke up and saw the texts and stuff from people already saying overnight they saw it, right? I am excited for this. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the Houston Cougars. The kids they're recruiting, all the things. This is a big, big deal for the university. Going to be breaking more down as more comes out over the weekend. There is a commitment in basketball soon that I'm hearing mixed things about as I'm recording this. There's a big basketball game Monday night. Obviously, the Kansas State game, football game over the weekend. Lots of things to break down here each and every day at Locked On Cougars. Stay tuned. Hit the bell so know we're live to get notifications on all things Houston Cougars. Locked On Cougars, primary Locked On podcast network. That means your team every day. Go Cougs.